I'm talking today with Manpreet Dhillon. I met you, I guess it was probably, 4 or 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, it was quite
Yeah,
some
I,
time. Yeah.
I helped you out with your mortgage financing. And ever since then, I've been following you, obviously, on Facebook and talking to you and checking in. And you've been doing amazing things that I really wanted to share with my audience. So for the past, couple of years, you've been traveling around the globe. I guess it's educating and working with businesses. So tell me a little bit about what you were doing as you were traveling.
Of course. I had the fortunate experience of working with a couple of different UN organizations. And so I worked in Netherlands with the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. I developed their HR strategy and gender diversity strategy, which was really amazing. And then I did a trade mission of women entrepreneurs to Croatia. So that took me to Croatia a few times and really understanding the markets there, understanding how women entrepreneurs function and what the needs that they have in Croatia and how that compares to Canada. So I took a group of 10 women from Canada to Croatia and kind of help people grow their businesses as a business development trip. And so that was really amazing. Then that led me to some speaking in Serbia, working with women entrepreneurs there as well. And we're launching a portion of ESA in India. And so I've been doing some work in India and in Nepal and
Wow.
working with different organizations on like women's leadership, looking at diversity in the workplace, but really around gender. A lot of the work I do externally is around gender diversity. And one of the best projects I worked for was Georgia, UN Women Georgia, which I didn't get to go to Georgia, unfortunately, but I developed a mentorship program for the private sector there because they only have under 25% of women in leadership. So we developed a mentorship program that can be launched throughout the private sector. So it's been really amazing to be able to go into different parts of the world. And then I, did a vacation in Bali because I hadn't taken vacation for 7 years. Everyone assumes because I'm traveling all the time that I'm taking vacation. I'm like, no, I actually hadn't. I finally took a vacation when I went to Bali. So that was really amazing.
What I wanted to talk about in this kind of Let's Connect series is, what are you seeing as the issues here, particularly during this pandemic, and, what can be done? So what are some of the issues here that you're seeing, particularly like you were saying, women in leadership, women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so one of my roles is as an entrepreneur in residence for Women's Enterprise Center. And so through that, I'm actually seeing a lot of women who are solopreneurs or have smaller companies who aren't eligible for government funding. And now they're having to close their businesses. And it's actually really amazing to watch how some of them are just pivoting or they're just like, nope, I was reading some forums this morning. Some of them are like, we're just not giving up. We are going to make this happen, even if we're only making $500 a month. And my biggest concern actually goes to, and the things I think about are the groups, the underrepresented groups, the newcomers, people with disabilities, people who already have a hard time getting a job. A lot of them have lost their jobs already. A lot of them were immune, people with disabilities are immune compromised, so they had to be home. And when when things shift again, we're able to things open up again, some of those people won't be hired back because as companies have to scale back, they have less revenues. And so that's what really gets to my heart about these newcomer women, especially newcomers in general, but newcomer women who, they probably had these jobs that were like their lifeline. And especially the domestic violence is higher with these groups. Some of them are living with their abusers right now as well. And then also poverty is always higher. Like of all people living in poverty, immigrant women are about 26% of those. And then Indigenous women are 33%. And we're just going to see those numbers going higher. That's something that I'm kind of pondering and like, okay, what can we do differently and what needs to happen now?
What are some of your thoughts as to how, these women and underrepresented groups can, weather this storm?
In the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about like, what can we do differently? We already work with organizations on diversity and inclusion. So we're already working with organizations on how to access these pools and how to, set up systems for onboarding and kind of integrate them into the workplace. And right now we're not seeing any difference, right? The last couple of weeks, we haven't seen much difference with that, which is great.
Mhm.
because organizations also see diversity and inclusion is still an important part of their goals and their mandate, and it does improve their bottom line. So at least from that angle, we can continue to do the work and work with organizations in different ways. It was funny because even in the shower this morning, I had this idea. I'm like, what if we just had a database of all these individuals that, I mean, I know that there's service agencies that do have these databases, but what if we had a database of all these individuals who are going to be looking for jobs from underrepresented groups, and where employers had access to them,
Yeah,
and that would, you know, at least we can start a process of matching that way.
yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, so that was my shower idea in the shower this morning. So we'll see how that forms.
We were also talking about ways that companies, rather than laying off their staff, could perhaps continue to keep them employed, but that was going to require maybe a different, mindset, or a shift in the way that they were dealing with this, or communicating with their employees.
It was actually someone else's advice. It's Keith Epple from Spring. He had mentioned it, but I think it was such a great idea. But it's just in it. I was talking to one of my friends who's a partner at Deloitte as well, and she was kind of like, "Yeah, no, it's the best idea." But instead of like right away just laying off and kind of going into fear mode, is like I should bring your team together and be like, "Okay, now what are some strategies we can use right now to move forward?" And your team, like teams, have the best ideas. They know them. They know the customers. They want to keep their jobs. They're going to find ways to be innovative and creative and find ways to kind of like make it happen. I've seen a few companies who've done this, and it's been amazing results where they set up their own work sharing, or so that people, they can reduce layoffs for individuals. Some of them just, we had executives who have been reducing their salaries in order to make sure that layoffs don't happen. We've had where teams are coming up with new strategies on even selling, because there's certain products are going to sell regardless. They're essential, and or they've kind of refigured things to be essential. And that was a part of the team had decided to do that, which was really amazing. But the knowledge that happens the brainstorming that happens when you bring your team together on what's possible,
Yeah.
amazing. Because like people are willing, no one wants to see someone else lose a job. And so they're willing to do what it takes to access, fortunately we live in Canada, we have some great systems in place. And we're actually really fortunate with the things that are happening for us. And how to maximize what's happening in the company and what's happening with the government.
It's amazing what businesses are doing to just keep afloat, and some really unique ideas. Often, it's adversity, right? That creates this mind shift. We just have to get it done. There's not a choice, right? We don't want to close our doors.
But one of the big things we'll notice at this time is the companies who actually really care about their community and really care about their clients.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference, or really care about their employees. And those are the companies who are shining right now, because that level of care and trust is within their community and their clients. They're the ones who are really being innovative and finding ways to kind of support those that they love.
It's really important that we kind of all work together, and businesses being innovative, so that they can make it through. I mean, on the other side, I don't know what it's going to look like. It would be just horrible to, have been in business for 10 years and something like this, over 6 months, boom, your doors are closed.
Unfortunately, there is a lot of businesses that are going to have to close doors.
Yeah.
But really, the innovation of talking to your community, talking to your customers, talking to, engaging with your employees, that's what's going to be the difference.
Yeah.
And then, the underrepresented groups, once the doors open, it's like, bring them in for the positions that, that are possible. And that's going to, not only helps the business, it helps the way that people think. It's about the diversity of perspectives and the diversity of thought. That's most important. And when we have all of that around the table, we come up with the best decisions. And so that's why it's super important to make sure that we're doing that with all of our, utilizing that amongst our teams as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice, Manpreet. And of course, you bring, like I said, a lot of worldly experience. So you've seen it in action, and it works, and we're seeing it now with our businesses. So here in Vancouver. So I'm wishing you the very best, and you're doing well. You said you're a little bit, you're getting a little bit of cabin fever, but overall, you're
I'm
doing well.
it's a I'm so grateful. I mean, we have so much privilege. Like, we have a roof over our heads, we're safe, and we have food on our tables. Like, you have to, it's more gratitude for anything, and then if I have cabin fever because I'm bored, well, at least I have my health, I have a family that loves me, and we have food on the table. So I'm really grateful.